Okay, welcome to Raw Sports Takes with your host Miguel Sanchez. Today is 9/20th, Friday, 2024. Today's episode, we're going to talk real quick. Week 3 picks. So far, over the last 2 weekends, I've been 17-13 because I did pick some crazy upsets. They almost happened, but unfortunately, it didn't work out for me on those picks. But we're going to go through all the Week 3 NFL picks, who I think is going to win, and we're going to go through there. But first, we're going to get started in last night's game. Last night's game was between the Jets and the Patriots. And what we came to find out about that game was that just exactly what I thought at the beginning of the season was. The Jets are going to be pretty good with a decent Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers played very well. He looked very good. He moved around very well. There was a couple of times when he ran with the ball. He took up and scrambled. That was pretty good. They ran the ball pretty decently, and he was able to find his favorite target there, Wilson. Gary Wilson played a very good game, caught a touchdown there. And interesting stat about that was the first time ever Aaron Rodgers has thrown a touchdown to a receiver that was picked in the round one, that was drafted in round one. So that was an interesting, never knew that. And that was his 480th touchdown. That's another interesting stat there if you're a football geek and like stats like that. But other than that, we also come to find out that the Patriots, as good as they were competitive the last 2 weeks, they're the Patriots that we thought they were going to be originally, and that's that they suck. Quarterback play was terrible. Pretty much all the Jets did in that game was just blitz, pretty much. They just brought either a linebacker or a defensive back from the middle, and they blitzed, and every single time it seemed like the Patriots cannot pick up the blitz, because there was a few times where I saw Jacoby Brissett pretty much running for his life right away. But there were some wide open receivers also. I think on one play was like a 3rd and 9, and they blitz, and the running back was like staring straight at Jacoby Brissett, and there was nobody around him within 10 yards from him. So if he would just done a quick little lob play, probably would have taken off for a good chunk of yardage. But then again, hey, I'm not playing quarterback. I'm not getting chased down by these huge monsters trying to tackle you. So I don't know. That was pretty much the little glimpse of Drake May came in there at the end of the game, but it was already a lost cause, and even then he still got sacked twice. So that tells you the Jets weren't there to play. Like I said, Aaron Rodgers looked good. He looked like everybody thought he was going to look, especially if you're a big Jets fan. You're pretty excited. Looking at your only competition really in that division is going to be the Buffalo Bills. Other than that, the Miami Dolphins are pretty much dead in the water now. I don't think Tua's ever. It's not going to be played for at least 4 weeks, and I think Skylar Thompson. You cannot just insert any quarterback and expect them to run that high octane offense like you think they should. And they got a lot more issues besides the Tua thing. So that's the one thing about the offense. So if you're a Jets fan, that's really going on for you. That was a quick recap of the game. I personally hate Thursday night games. I think they suck. I think they're terrible. I think if the NFL actually care about the health of the players, they would actually not play on Thursdays. I think they should have kept Thursdays traditionally like they always have, which is on Thanksgiving, and that's about it. Because it is terrible. It's a terrible product to watch. Besides last week's, the first week 1 Thursday night game, which was between the Baltimore Ravens and the Chiefs, that was the only really competitive Thursday night game. I can't think of the week 2 game from what I remember. Quick glance. Let me check it out. Quick glance. For the most part, they're not competitive. And just like last night's game, it was not competitive at all. You saw that right away. The Jets were there not to play around. And they pretty much beat the living snot out of them. Pretty fast, pretty quick. And that's what you expect. That's what you expected when you first got started. When you first watched the NFL. When you first started the season, you're like, hey, how are the Jets going to look? I think they're going to look good. The defense look good. The defense going to get... I really thought the Patriots would have ran the ball more often and ran it more efficiently because they were running it better. They've been terrible, the Jets' defense on the run, but it didn't look like it. It looked like the Jets got their shit together and actually played very well. Okay, week 2, Thursday night game. That was the Bills and Dolphins. Yeah, that was a terrible game too. For the most part, if you watch football enough, Thursday night games are blowouts. It's just usually the better is because they're not ready and they don't want to be ready. I personally, if I was a coach or general manager of a Thursday night game and I had a Thursday night game, I don't even give a shit if I win or lose. I just care that nobody gets hurt and that everybody's pretty good and then we can go on and we could go play the rest of the season. Because as we know, last Thursday night was Tua, and this game, and didn't look like there was too many injuries or any particular big injury to big players, but still, last thing you want to do as a Jets fan is you watch Aaron Rodgers limp out or get injured in a Thursday night game because they only had four nights to get prepared. Other than that, that's about it about that game. It was just what we expected at the beginning of the season, like I said, and the Jets are on a good spot now. We're gonna go on to Week 3 picks. Also, a little reminder: I'm gonna change the name of this podcast. I don't like the way it sounds, so we're gonna change it. So look for that later on. Just a quick update on that. And also, I'm gonna do an NBA preview before the season starts. I believe training camp and camps are about to start next week, so we're gonna look into that. It's gonna be a little bit San Antonio heavy because there's a lot of optimistic people like me that think they're gonna do very well. And so we're going to do a little bit of that, and we're going to go through everything. If you like LeBron James, I will not listen to the podcast because there's going to be a lot of bashing of LeBron James. So we're moving on to Week 3. Here we go. Week 3, first big game, or the boring games and the games that are really crappy. I'm not really going to dig too much into them. I'm just going to pick a winner and tell you a quick reason here and there and why. Like the first game we got here is the New York Giants at Cleveland Browns. I believe Cleveland is favored by 6.5 points. Cleveland played a lot better. Deshaun Watson played a lot better. He didn't play like a bottom 5 quarterback. He played like he actually wanted to play. We'll see what happens. Giants are terrible. Daniel Jones, what is he going to get? His 66th or 65th start, and he's still starting. Meanwhile, Bryce Young got less than a year and a half in the NFL, and he's bench. That's interesting because I think we already know that Daniel Jones sucks. Everybody knows it. Even Giants fans know it. So there's no point of I would start him. I would actually start looking at DeVito or looking at something else, something to be better. But other than that, this game is pretty much going to come down to the Cleveland defense just destroying the Giants. And I can see Daniel Jones throwing 2 picks in this game. And that's about it. I mean, other than that, there's nothing much to look at this game besides it's pretty much a bottom feeder team and a mediocre team. So there's nothing much to look at. The next one is going to be Chicago Bears at Indianapolis Colts. Colts are favored by 1.5. Usually when these lines come out, if you never thought about, if you always wonder what that meant, like the spread wise, usually if it's 2 pretty even teams, the home team gets a 3-point or a field goal advantage, pretty much. So when I say Colts negative 1.5, that means that they believe Chicago is a little better team than Indianapolis, but since Indianapolis is at home, they get a little bit of advantage there. But the only thing, it's gonna be a bottom feeder team in the Indianapolis Colts. I think they're gonna finish their dead last in the division, but the only thing interesting there is you're going to see some pretty much incredible throws or runs by your boy there, the quarterback, Anthony Richardson. He plays very well. But other than that, it's about it. Chicago Bears, of course, they have a young Caleb Williams. Interesting stat that I just saw the other day about Caleb Williams, well, in general, just of rookie quarterbacks, was that Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Bo Nix, those are your 3 starting rookie quarterbacks this year, have attempted 196 passing attempts, and they have not thrown 1 touchdown pass at all. I believe that streak ends this week. Chicago Bears, I think Caleb Williams throws a touchdown or 2, especially because the Indianapolis Colts plays a very basic defense, and they don't do too much, and they're missing a lot of good players also. So I think they play a lot better this game, and I think the Bears are able to figure something out. And the best defender on the Colts is pretty much out. He's DeForest Buckner. He's out. He was placed on injury reserve this week. So that should so the Bears should start looking a little bit better there on offense. So hopefully they get it going. Of course, Caleb Williams has really high expectations. A lot of people expect greatness out of him, but it's going to take a while. Just remember, rookie quarterbacks suck for the most part. I know I said that the last podcast. Peyton Manning, I believe, threw like 18 or 22 interceptions in his rookie season. So it's not easy to just come in as a rookie. Because if you come in as a rookie, you come to a pretty shitty team. And we're trying to find out is the Bears' offensive line is pretty freaking shitty. I know they got good weapons, but God bless it, that line could not protect him at all. He ran, I think out of those 39 passes he had last game, he had 36 of them were under pressure, which is insane. He needs to protect himself a little bit better. They need to protect him a little bit better. That's what they need to really do. Hopefully they get a little bit more run plays in there, a little bit more pass action plays, and hopefully they get a little bit more balance. And I think this is a good medicine here with the Indianapolis Colts. The only thing about Indianapolis Colts I like to watch is I like to watch Anthony Richardson. But I have the same issues I have with Caleb Williams right now, is that he needs to protect himself and stop running so much. He runs quite a bit, and he tends to take a lot of rough hits there. So hopefully he stays healthy, so you'll see some amazing throws by him. And you're going to see a lot of bonehead throws that you're like, what the hell is he doing? But then again, you got to remember, he only played, I believe 5 games last year. So he should take it pretty easy, and he should get better, hopefully, as the season goes on. But I'll pick the Bears for that one. I think the Bears win that game. For the most part, most experts are picking the Bears. I think I only seen like a few people take the Colts on that one. The next one is going to be a super interesting game to me. That one's going to be the Houston Texans at Minnesota Vikings. The Texans are actually favored by 2 points. So that's interesting. I mean, like I said, the oddmakers think that Houston Texans is a way better team than the Minnesota Vikings to be favored on the road. And I don't think most people believe Minnesota. I think a lot of people think they're pretenders. They are not contenders, and they think they're pretenders. So this is one of these teams is going to have their first loss, and I don't think it's going to be the Houston Texans. It's going to be a revenge game, too. You got Daniel Hunter, the defensive end for the Houston, Cam Akers, and Chris Boyd all played for the Vikings last year, and they played for Kevin O'Connell. So that should be an interesting game as far as that. Also, you got Jonathan Greener, Blake Cashman, and Shaq Griffin, who also played for the Texans last year, and now they're playing for the Texans. I mean, for the Vikings now. They're playing for the Vikings now. So, interesting there. Stephon Diggs goes back to Minnesota, so that should be an interesting game. I wonder if he probably wants to play really well and play pretty cool. I mean, you got to remember, Stephon Diggs, before he went to Buffalo Bills, he had that miracle catch from Case Keenum, I believe. I think it was they call it Minneapolis Miracle or something. And if you don't remember that, it was against the Saints. They just threw the ball there at the end. I didn't think they were going to do it, but they just threw the ball at the end. And for some odd reason, I believe Williams was the safety, took a bad angle. Stephon Diggs caught it, and then he ran it in for a touchdown. It was one of the craziest plays I've seen in a long time in playoffs, especially because you got to remember who the quarterback was. Case and Keenum, it wasn't Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins hadn't been there quite yet. But it's going to be interesting because Minnesota Vikings, that defense is playing very well. They shut down Brock Purdy, and I believe they had 6 sacks last game against him. And it is in Minneapolis, so it's going to be wild. Could they get the same kind of pressure they did against them, against C.J. Stroud? I believe it could be. And as far as that, I don't know what to believe of the quarterback right now, of Sam Darnold. I just don't know what's going on there. It's a weird one. If Justin Jefferson is at his disposal, and he is there, and also the other wide receiver, Jordan Addison, the other receivers there too, I'll take Minnesota with the upset. And if they win this game, they are a contender. I think they're a real good contender, and all of a sudden the NFC North gets really super interesting. Minnesota 3-0. Green Bay Packers are probably going to win this game 2-1, and then there's going to be the Lions. So they're going to try to recover and go to 2-1. So it's going to be a very, very interesting NFC North. And shoot, if I just picked the Bears too, so they might be all 2-1 or 3-0 according to this. But it's going to be a close one. I think it's a close one, like I said, if those two receivers are available and they're healthy. Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison for Sam Darnold. If they're not healthy, then it's going to be a Texans by a blowout, I think. But if they're in it just for shits and giggles, let's take the Vikings. I'll take the Vikings on that one. Hopefully they pull a little upset. Let's do that. I don't know if it's too much of an upset alert to reality be wise, because we could look back at the season and say at the end of the season we could look back and be like, wow, Minnesota was actually really good. But we'll see what happens. So it's a game to watch. Another game to watch for the same reasons is Philadelphia Eagles and New Orleans Saints. Saints are favored by 2.5. Let that sink in. 2.5. People believe they're almost equally matched, according to the odd makers. And a lot of people, from what I've seen, are taking the Saints. A lot of people really think they are contenders. Now, there was a point in my lifetime, and there was a point in where I believed that Carr was a quarterback when he was with the Raiders, and I believe he was really good. And then he just fell off the map and started sucking again. But he's playing very well again, so that could be another one. The Philadelphia Eagles have the same issue the Cowboys have in the last game. They can't stop the run. And if we know something from the New Orleans is they love to run the ball, especially with Alvin Kamara that looks like 2018 Alvin Kamara. So that should be an interesting place there to see. This is going to be another game where you're really going to see who's a pretender and who's a contender as far as Philadelphia and the New Orleans Saints. I mean, whoever comes out of this is going to come out feeling really well, really good, 2-1 Eagles, or you're going to be a 3-0 Saints. The other one's going to be a lot of question marks. A lot of people are going to think, is it time? Is this team going to start falling? Are they not good enough? Is the talent overrated? And we really thought the talent was overrated. Now, I'm going to take the Saints for the simple reason that maybe this is not an anomaly. Maybe this is how the Saints are going to play. For some odd reason, if you look at them, they're clicking. Everything's really clicking. And they're scoring on almost every single drive. And the other thing that I like to think about the Saints is they remind me a lot of the 1999 Rams when they came out of nowhere. Kurt Warner was bagging groceries 2 years before that or something like that, and then he was in the Arena Football League for, I don't know, some German team. I think it was a Germany team. And then all of a sudden, Trent Green got hurt, so Kurt Warner got put in, and then Kurt Warner never looked back and started tearing it up. And they had two really good wide receivers in Zach Bruce and Torrey Holt, and they had Marshall Faulk. I'm not saying Alvin Kamara is going to be a Marshall Faulk, and I'm not saying Derek Carr is going to play like Kurt Warner, but you never know. They're looking really explosive. They're looking really good. They're looking like that kind of team, at least right now at the beginning of the first two games. But like I said, this is really going to tell us who is, if they're really contenders or pretenders, and there's going to be a lot of question marks, especially if the Eagles lose. As a Cowboys fan, I want the Eagles to lose just because there's going to be a lot of questions. If the Saints lose and they start losing, then we're going to go back and say, this is kind of like, reminds me of the Arizona Cardinals from last year, who they're real good, real contenders. They played a few games. They beat the Cowboys, by the way, last year. And then they fell off the earth and they sucked again. And they ended up picking Marvin Harrison in the top 5. But and I'm going to go with New Orleans Saints. I want to believe in them, and I want to see them be real good. The next game up, another pretender and contender game. It's going to be the Chargers and Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I do believe the Los Angeles Chargers are contenders. I'm a big believer in them. I don't believe in the Pittsburgh Steelers just for the simple reason I don't think Justin Fields has been fixed as far as being a good quarterback. They got the Steelers favored by 1.5 points, but I don't think they cover. I think Los Angeles has the better quarterback in Herbert. I believe they got the better coach. I believe they got the better not the better defense. The better defense actually on the Steelers side. So it's going to make it a little difficult there for J.K. Dobbins to run the ball, and really also for Justin Herbert to play very well, because he in reality doesn't have any receivers. But I still think they're the better team. I think they're taking on the personality of Harbaugh, which is the ground and pound kind of game that he's brought over from Michigan. And I think they do very well. And it's going to be a close one. And I think it comes down to a field goal kick. And I think Dicker, the kicker, is going to come through and actually win that game for them. So that's going to be my pick. My pick is going to be the Chargers. And as they have it right now, that's an upset. So that probably is my second upset of the week. And then, again, after this game, a lot of people are going to talk the same thing. It's like Saints. They're going to be either, hey, are they really? They're really contenders, one of these two teams, and the other one is going to be, well, that's what we thought they were. They were just pretenders, and they beat up on two sucky teams. The next game, it's going to be unwatchable. to me, I like watching personally when I'm watching football. If the Cowboys aren't playing, I like to watch Red Zone. A lot of people don't, but that's because that's the way I watch football games. If unless it's a really good game between, I don't know, the Chiefs, like a real high, like a prime time game, I guess. But if there's other games like during the noon games, because we live in Central Time here, if it's the noon games, I like to watch Red Zone, and because that's the way I watch TV anyways. I just flick through the channels. If it's in a commercial, I'll go through it. If they're 4th and 15 at their own 20-yard line, there's no point in watching that. I flicked it and I'll go back to the other game. So I liked the Red Zone, and I bought it this year and I buy it every year, but I like it just for the simple reason because it goes to every single score and play, so I could watch a little bit of every single game. So back to what I was saying, Denver Broncos, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that's not a game that I really, really want to watch. Or if you have that, where you could watch 4 games at a time on your TV, that's not going to be one of the games that I'm going to be watching. I think Tampa Bay is just going to be really good. Defense is going to tear the Bo Nix apart. Like I said, it's really hard for rookie quarterbacks to win games, and I don't think they win this game. I think Sean Payton was over his head on that one. I think he sold himself to thinking that Bo Nix was going to be anything good, so I don't think that's going to happen. Tampa Bay is looking more like a contender more and more. We forget they were in the playoffs last year. We forget they actually won a playoff game against the Eagles, and they actually were, I believe, were beating Detroit, and that was a very competitive game. And it came down to they were very, very close to being in the NFC Championship last year, and it looks like they took the next step forward. Now, we're waiting for, at least I am. I'm waiting for the quarterback there, Baker Mayfield. I want him to fall back and be what he usually is and make dumb mistakes. But he's playing very well right now, so who knows? Does he keep it up? Does he play that Oklahoma Baker Mayfield that we know, or he goes back to that Texas Tech Baker Mayfield? I'm waiting for that to happen, but as of right now, it's not going to happen against Denver. Denver is just too much of a terrible team, and they're going to be a bottom feeder anyway, so that should be an easy game to predict. So I'll take the Buccaneers on that one. They actually favor by 6.5. That's a lot. They're almost favored by a whole touchdown, so that tells you something. The next game is going to be Green Bay versus Tennessee Titans. Unless you're a Green Bay Packer fan, I don't think this is a game really to watch that much. They got it's a noon game, so it's an early game, and they actually have the Titans favor by 2 points. It's kind of weird. The big question is, did they bring back Jordan Love this game? Which is because he returned to practice Wednesday, I believe, and they really have not put any kind of timeline on him coming back. They didn't say he was going to miss 4 weeks. They didn't say he was going to miss 2 weeks. They didn't even. I even think they thought he might be able to play last week, which was kind of crazy to think about. But I don't think so. I don't know what's the rush behind getting Jordan Love. You just paid him a crap load of money. He just sprained his MCL. All it takes is just one bad hit or one bad step, and he could tear something, and that's it. He's done. He's gone, and there goes all your hopes of playing well. I think Matt LaFleur did a great job last game of actually playing the way he making Malik Willis look like a serviceable quarterback last game. That was pretty incredible, because you got to think about it. Malik Willis, if you ever watch his film, not the Liberty film, not the one from college, but I'm talking about the NFL-wise, that boy don't know how to play quarterback at all. He's a terrible quarterback, actually. I don't see how their Tennessee Titans didn't just cut him. But hey, they got a win. They got a win with him the last week. So that tells you something about the coaching there, Matt LaFleur. So we'll see what happens. And plus, you got Josh Jacobs, and you're playing against Will Levis. Last time I checked, and I had him last week in my last podcast, I said that Will Levis is probably the worst quarterback in the NFL right now, not named Bryce Young. He makes terrible, stupid mistakes, which is kind of sad, because he actually plays very well when he actually does not have a brain fart. He plays very well, but then again, we'll see what happens here. I don't think Jordan Love should play, and even if he plays, I think Green Bay wins, even if he doesn't play this game. It's a simple win. Will Levis is going to do something stupid eventually. That's 2 weeks in a row. Can he do it a third week? I think he can. I think we're going to see a dumb play by him. At least one. That boy is good for at least one even though they're masterful bad plays every single time. So Green Bay in this one. And I guess it's an upset because, they're weird. Tennessee's favor, which is super weird. Next one up. Oh, man, brings me back to something that was kind of funny. Have you ever watched that Jets game and Panthers game? Jets game and Tennessee game. There was a part there where the head coach, Callahan, he looked at him after he threw that weird pass, that terrible bonehead play, and he pretty much looked at him like, what the fuck were you doing? If you read his lips, it looked like he was saying that. Like, what the fuck were you thinking? But, needless to say, that was kind of funny to watch. Next game up, it's an unwatchable game. Carolina Panthers at Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders are favored by almost a touchdown. 5 points. Raiders should win this one easily. But the only thing that gives me hope that it might be competitive might be actually Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton starting. You guys remember Bryce Young got benched there. Andy Dalton actually played very well last year, and he had a pretty decent game last season. I think he threw 2 touchdowns and had like over 300 yards. But then again, I don't know. Maybe the Raiders found something there with the run game and the passing game. They actually were throwing the ball to their tight ends. They got 2 really good tight ends that could start on any team, really. And the rookie from Georgia, what's his name? Browers, whatever the hell his name is. And then the other rookie, and not the rookie, but the other tight end from last year, the tight end for Notre Dame. He played very well. He was rated the number 1 tight end last year in the draft, and this year they got the other number 1 tight end. So they remind me, they could do something kind of combination, kind of 2 tight end kind of style. It looks like they were doing a lot of that and passing, and they still have an elite Devontae Adams, even at his age now, he's still a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. So something there. So I think the Raiders found something there last week, and they should be able to win this game pretty handily and easily. The only thing that might give you hope with the Panthers, like I said, is Andy Dalton does something. But he has no weapons either, and that's the same damn offensive line that was there when Bryce Young was there. So we'll see what happens there. I'll take the Raiders on that one easily. Next game, we got the Miami Dolphins at Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks are favored by 4.5. Actually, it's a pretty big line there, and a lot of people just don't believe in Skylar Thompson as the quarterback there for Miami, and I don't believe in him either. I believe last year they win. I think they only won 1 game last year when Tua was not there, which was the year before that, of course, because last year he was actually healthy. So they had a terrible, and then I just don't think Skylar Thompson is anything special. He's just a backup quarterback. So there goes that. As far as that goes, it's an easy pick right here, Seattle Seahawks. Geno Smith is playing really well. He's playing top 5 quarterback right now. You could put him there in the top 5, for sure top 10, but you could probably almost sneak him in their top 5 quarterback so far this year. He's playing very sneaky and very quietly. He's having a pretty good damn season, so that should be an easy pick. I'll take the Seahawks. And that's another game that's probably unwatchable for the simple reason that Miami's going to be terrible in that game. The next game is more the later games later on. The Seahawks game was a later one game, but the Detroit at Arizona Cardinals, that should be a really good, interesting game. Lions are favored by 3 points by a field goal, but it should be an interesting game because this is another team, the Arizona Cardinals. Are they a pretender or are they a contender? If they beat the Detroit Lions, then we're talking more contender-wise. I don't know if we're talking more contender on the side of Arizona, or are we talking more Detroit Lions? They have a lot of questions, and they just are not. They cannot meet expectations like we thought. Because last year, really, we didn't give 2 shits about the Lions. No, most people don't. Most people did not have any expectations for them. And all of a sudden, they start winning games. All of a sudden, they win the division for the first time ever in I don't know how many damn years. And then they go to the playoffs and make it all the way to the NFC Championship. And they got a little taste of what it is success. But the problem with success is that you got to keep it going. If you don't keep it going, then you're a failure. That's the things with the Lions, is there's expectations. That has always been my talk. That has always been my case with the Cowboys and Dak Prescott, is there's expectations in Dallas. Even if you win 5-11, or say you're San Francisco, even not just Dallas, but San Francisco, we're talking elite NFL franchises: San Francisco Giants, Cowboys, those kind of teams. You expect them to win, just like Kansas City Chiefs. When he's retired, when Patrick Mahomes eventually retires, you still expect greatness there. You're not the Detroit Lions, you're not the Cleveland Browns, where you have no expectations and nobody gives two rats ass, and then you're a feel good story when you do actually win. That's the issue with Detroit is going to hit them. If they lose this game, there's going to be a lot of those question marks. But Kyler Murray played, again, he played very well last game, and you could consider him a top 10 quarterback, and you can almost sneak him in also as a top 5. He's played very well. And he has very good weapons there. James Conner is a very good running back. Marvin Harrison Jr. proved it, why he's the top wide receiver in the NFL draft last year. He's expected, but I still expect the Lions to win. I just don't, but it's going to be interesting to watch. But I still take the Lions on that one. Hopefully, if they get Jared Goff doesn't get hit too much there, and actually plays like Jared Goff from last year, not Jared Goff from the Rams. And we know what happened with the Rams. It was terrible there. And I don't believe in him as a quarterback. So I would actually, if I had a choice between Kyler Murray and Jared Goff, I would actually pick Kyler Murray. Even though Kyler Murray gets injured quite a bit because he is smaller. He does run a lot. But Jared Goff, I'm just not a believer in Jared Goff. I don't believe in his arm strength, and I don't believe in his decision making. Even though I know Lions fans are going to say, no, he went for so many last year, so many completions without interceptions, and then he had like 2 in a row there, which was kind of funny. Yeah, he still makes bonehead moves. Just as the last game he had bonehead moves. But I'll pick the Lions just on talent alone, and because there's expectations there. So we'll go with that. The next game, that's the must watch. I think everybody should watch this game because it's going to be either a really good game or it's going to be a total blowout. And if you're Stephen A. Smith, you're going to start laughing at Cowboys fans or whatever the fuck he does. His little gimmick. I guess that's his gimmick. Just yelling and laughing at Cowboys misery. Which I get it. Everybody either hates the Cowboys or loves the Cowboys. There ain't no in between. On this one, though, it's going to be really super interesting. For whoever loses this game, again, there's going to be a lot of question marks. Baltimore Ravens, I believe they were the first. Lamar Jackson's the first quarterback to come to be 0-2 after winning the MVP the year prior. That's an interesting stat. Another interesting stat is that I believe nobody has ever started 0-3 and gone to the Super Bowl. There's a team that's gone 0-2. Recently, I believe it was the Cincinnati Bengals, who's lost the first 2 games, and then they're going to the Super Bowl, and they lost against, of course, they lost in the Super Bowl. Because my boy could only carry them so much after getting sacked so many damn times there. But, needless to say, 0-3, you're not going to go to the Super Bowl. I don't think you might even make the playoffs. It's just too big of a hole to dig yourself out of. As far as I can see here, Cowboys have a terrible run defense. They look pretty decently against Cleveland, but Cleveland didn't have his big weapons. And then against Alvin Kamara had 4 touchdowns that ran all over them and made him look like fucking the 2002 Dallas Cowboys with Quincy Carter. Which was ironic because I think Mike Zimmer was the defensive coordinator. But needless to say, going to Mike Zimmer is too good of a damn defensive coordinator to not do something about that run defense and actually fix it. The problem is with Cowboys is they're not going to get a break because they're going to get one of the best probably the best running quarterback of all time, not named Michael Vick. And they're going to get Derrick Henry, who's a freaking locomotive when he gets the ball going and gets running. But fortunately for the Cowboys, Baltimore Ravens apparently don't know how to use Derrick Henry there. And they haven't been running him that well. And that offensive line, there's a lot of questions there also. They haven't been moving people like they should. They really don't have a wide receiver that really scares or should scare you, and Zay Flowers. So that's pluses there. Mike Zimmer has to really, really get going and start just stop the run. That's the biggest thing. You stop the Raiders, I was gonna say. You stop the Ravens run and you could and get Lamar Jackson to passing. They don't have that much weapons. Yeah, they have Lively and they have the other Andrews, the other tight end. They're pretty damn good, but I just don't. I think that's the winning formula there. You really got to stop the run. If the Cowboys keep down, stop the run, then it's going to be a lot of trouble. Now on the Dallas side, you got Dak Prescott, the highest paying quarterback. Looks like shit. The last game, like I said before, he's been graded as average or below average the last 2 weeks. What he needs to do there is actually go back to what worked last year. Last year is be a more balanced offense, run the ball a little bit more. It's unfortunately, you probably have the worst running backs in the whole damn NFL. The Cowboys running backs are the worst. You got a Zeke Elliott, who's not even close to anything he used to be. Rico Dow, an undrafted running back. And then you got the smallest running back, and Deuce Bond, even though I love Deuce Bond, but, he's tiny. He's smaller than me, let's put it that way. And I know, and I'm not a really small guy, but I'm pretty small if you know me. I don't know what to say there besides, I don't know what that would fix. Cowboys could go 2 ways. If you know how the Cowboys usually work, they actually play very well the next game and they actually win it. But the Ravens do scare me. The Ravens have always scared me ever since they had Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. I don't know why. Always been a big fan of them too. They're probably my second favorite team in the NFL besides the Cowboys. Due to me being a Cowboys fan, I'm not going to pick a team on this. I know it's a cop-out. But just for shits and giggles, if I had a gun to my head, I'd probably pick the Baltimore Ravens. There's a lot of issues with the Cowboys. So many issues. Defense, the offense. Michael Parsons likes to talk a lot. I get it. You're going to try to talk yourself into this game, but let's be real, Michael Parsons. If you're listening to this, you beat up on easy teams, but when it comes to competition, you pretty much suck and fold the tent. And that's the truth. You don't show up when it comes to big games. Same thing with Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott doesn't show up for big games. Playoffs, that's why his playoff records are stupid. I could go going on and keep kicking the Cowboys, but I'm not, because Jerry Jones is never going to change. Even after he dies and the family's still there, and they're still going to do stupid-ass mistakes. So we'll go on to the next game. Next game is going to be unwatchable just because it's San Francisco versus at Los Angeles Rams. And San Francisco is actually favored by 7 points. Nobody's picking the Rams. I'm not going to pick the Rams. There's just way too many damn injuries on the Rams side, especially elite players on the. If you watch the games the last 2 weeks, the Rams have been running for their damn lives there. Matthew Stafford's been running for his damn life. He has nobody to throw the damn ball to, and this is just, it's just a weird game. It's going to be one of those weird ones where I think if you're a Rams fan, you really, really hope you might not. If I'm a Rams fan, I'm actually hoping that Matthew Stafford doesn't play the game. I actually put the bench player in there because this is going to be a slaughter. Even though the 49ers are missing a lot of weapons themselves, and Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, and last time I heard George Kittle wasn't practicing, so because he has hamstring tightness, so he might be missing in the game. The 49ers still have a crap load of talent on the defense side, and this might be a defensive struggle here. And I think, to be honest with you, 49ers just need to put up maybe 18 points and they're going to win the game. Whoever gets to 20 points first is going to win the game because it's going to be a defensive struggle. It's going to be just a slaughter fest on the other side. You still got a lot of good players on the defense, and they're not missing any, from what I believe and last time I read. San Francisco doesn't have any defensive players, big players that are missing, so they're going to beat up on the Rams. And like I said, if I'm Matthew Stafford, I might want to sit this one out and just wait for next week because I do not want to get my ass kicked. Last time he tried to play, he was getting slaughtered. Ironically, I just talk a lot of shit about the Cowboys, but it was against the Cowboys, and they pretty much took him out of the game. I think he had a hand injury. That was that game last year. But I'll take the 49ers. Other than that, it's probably not watchable. Like I said, I wouldn't pay too much attention to this game. The next game, I don't know. The next game is an interesting one, too. That one's I like to watch Kansas City just because I like Patrick Mahomes. I like the way he plays. Not a fan of his voice. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are not a fan of my voice, even though you're listening to this. But Kansas City at Atlanta Falcons. Chiefs are favored by 3.5. On that one, I don't know what are we going to get from here. Are we going to get the Kirk Cousins sucks in the prime time? Like I said in my rant about him in the the Eagles the last game, are we going to get that Kirk Cousins, the one that always sucks and shits the bed in prime time? Or are we going to get Kirk Cousins from 2 years ago that was tearing it up and actually playing very well? And when it came to close games, he actually had a lot of really good. I think they were 7-0 or 8-0, something. They were undefeated 2 years ago when it was games within a point or within a one scoring drive, I believe, which was really crazy because most of the time that breaks even. But the Minnesota Vikings with Kirk Cousins, they were undefeated. That's why a lot of people did not pick Minnesota to win the division last year because of that, because that was just a weird stat. But we'll see what happens here. I mean, he has good weapons. He played very well, but that could be either the Eagles really going to suck this year and then just the Falcons just beat a bad Eagles team. I don't think I'll take Kansas City every day, any day, especially when they get very lucky sometimes. Some people call it luck, but it's talent. You get the same kind of feeling when you're watching Patrick Mahomes with the ball at the end of a game that you did when Peyton Manning had the ball and Tom Brady had the ball. And to some point, Aaron Rodgers, when he was healthy. He's still, even though he's playing still right now. But you get that same feeling with Patrick Mahomes. If you give him the ball at the end of the game, he has the last drive, he's going to score and he's going to win the game. Either by a field goal if he needs a field goal or a touchdown, but he's going to win the game. So I like watching that for that aspect of it. You could technically be watching, and I encourage a lot of people to watch Patrick Mahomes because you might be watching the GOAT there. Sorry, Tom Brady. I know. You just retire and consider the GOAT, and then all of a sudden someone's going to take your title. You're not even a decade later, which is kind of funny because I'm not a big Tom Brady fan. So, oh well. And then you have 2 Monday night games. I guess the NFL decided to schedule 2 Monday night games again for that reason. First one, I'm just going to watch it just to watch. But it's Jacksonville Jaguars 0-2 at Buffalo Bills 2-0. I think the Bills stay undefeated. Josh Allen has been playing great. If you know anything about football, you're a football geek like me, it's going to be Josh Allen versus Josh Allen. But I think he changed his name, actually. I think it's Josh Hines Allen now. That's the defensive end for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So this should be an interesting game. And it's in the sense of, I guess that's the only thing I find interesting. Well, I do find interesting Trevor Lawrence. I want to see what he does. I want to see if he actually goes back to the talent that we know he is. Or is he going to just fell off a cliff and he just sucks now? Like, he's a terrible quarterback. He's a bottom 10 quarterback now? Is that what we're doing? Is that what we're doing, Trevor Lawrence? We're not living up to any of the talent, none of the expectations. Before Caleb Williams came around, I thought Trevor Lawrence was going to be the next really talented quarterback that was actually take the NFL by storm. He has all the potential. He has everything. He has the arm, he has the legs, but he had the pedigree. He won championships in Clemson. But apparently he's not. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll watch. Maybe something turns on in Trevor Lawrence's head and he actually beats the Buffalo Bills. Hoping not, because I'm taking the Buffalo on that one. The next game, it's the only thing that's. Next game is going to be Washington Commanders at Cincinnati Bengals. 0-2 versus 1-1. Commanders are 1-1. But of course, they beat up on the Giants, who at this point, I think, are freaking the Alabama or Texas football team. College team could beat up on the Giants. Cincinnati Bengals, I'll take. It's an easy. But last time I said it was easy, they got their ass beat by the freaking Patriots. But I don't think that happens in this game. I think that last game between them and the Chiefs was really. We saw what Joe Burrow is, who he is. He's a great quarterback. He is probably the second best quarterback when he's healthy, next to Patrick Mahomes. He's the only one that's been able to beat Patrick Mahomes, too. So, other than that, interesting things to watch here is just Jamar Chase. Is he going to keep playing the way he's playing? He seems really disgruntled because he hasn't gotten a deal. But hopefully he gets more opportunities to ball thrown more his way. It looks like they found something there with that tight end. What is that tight end's name on the Bengals? Joseki or Joseki, whatever the hell his name is. He was with Dolphins. I think he started with the Dolphins. Then he was with the Patriots last year. Now he was the Bengals. He has a lot of potential. He's always looked good. I just think nobody has tapped that talent there. And I think Joe Burrow is the guy. And I think they play a lot better this game. They played a lot better last game also. So I think something happened there. I think the switch finally turned on. And I think the Bengals are going to go on a run. Probably win the next 5 or 6 games in a row. and we're going to be talking about Joe Burrow in the MVP conversation. But other than that, the Commanders, I don't know if heard earlier my conversation about Jaden Daniels hasn't thrown a touchdown pass. He's fun to watch, but there's another quarterback that kind of scares me. He's a little too thin for my liking as a quarterback, especially when he runs, and he needs to protect himself. And the Washington Commanders need to do a better job as far as scheming better plays for him. So I think Cincinnati wins this easily. Like I said, they'll finally go into the win column there. Other than that, that's pretty much all my picks. Last night's game, I was going to pick the Jets because, like I said, I hate Thursday night games because they're not competitive and it's a terrible product. Other than that, any side notes here that I got work tomorrow. If you know that, we work 24 hours on and then we get 72 hours off, but then sometimes I work overtime. So hopefully Sunday when I get off, I get a quick nap, a quick sleep before the game start, and then start watching the football. And then I'll have my analyst. I don't have no analyst. It's just me. I'll have my my recap of the week. Either I'm gonna start trying to record on Mondays, right before the Monday night games. But I kind of like recording on Tuesdays too. But then I think people don't listen to it because it's already Tuesday and they want to forget about the week. Especially if the Cowboys, if you're a Cowboys fan, or like me, I tend not to want to watch TV afterwards because everybody's just talking mad shit. But I'm gonna try Monday, see how that works. If not, then just wait for a Tuesday. Tuesday, I'll record and it'll come out Tuesday. Other than that, thank you for listening, and we'll see you around. Have a great weekend.